chaos, panic. A shortage unlike anything we'd ever seen in our lifetime. The infamous toilet paper war of 2020. They say you never know what's truly important until you run out. Turns out it's toilet paper. Supermarket aisles looked like battlefields. Strangers fought over the last roll, people trading them like they were bars of gold. Admit it, you bought an extra pack or two. Or 12. I know it's hard to imagine, especially after we nearly declared World War III over toilet paper during the pandemic. But there was a time when toilet paper didn't even exist. No rolls, no softness, no fluffy cartoon bears on the package, just seashells, sponges, and a lot of very questionable decisions. So grab a seat, not that kind of seat, because today we're flushing back through time to uncover the surprisingly weird, sometimes scratchy history of toilet paper. This is Guess What, and you may never look at an empty roll the same again. The very first documented history of toilet hygiene goes all the way back to the 2nd century BC. And trust me, you're about to appreciate your two-ply a whole lot more. In China, records mention bamboo sticks wrapped in cloth, called chu-chu. These weren't soft disposable sheets, they were more like reusable wiping wands. Imagine a chopstick with a sweater on it. You'd swish, wipe, rinse, repeat. Practical? Sure. Comfortable? Let's just say splinters were probably a workplace hazard. Meanwhile, in Japan, people used slender wooden spatulas called chugi. These weren't for flipping pancakes, they were for scraping. Yes, scraping. You didn't dab. You didn't wipe. You basically gave yourself a personal spatula service. It was like trying to clean a frying pan, except the pan was, well, you. And funny enough, Gen Z has a word that sounds almost the same. Cheugy, meaning something that's out of style or just not cool anymore. Which, honestly, is the perfect word for a butt spatula. And in ancient Rome? Oh boy, they had the tersorium, a communal sponge on a stick, dunked in vinegar or salty water. Communal, as in shared. You'd finish your business, swirl it around like you're stirring a cocktail, wipe, then pop it back for the next lucky customer. Yikes. Talk about family-style dining, except nobody's hungry anymore. And in Europe? Oh, Europe got creative. Moss, hay, seashells, even scraps of old fabric. Basically, if it fit in your hand and wasn't too spiky, it was fair game. In the Middle East, people took a more sensible approach. Water, a tradition still alive today with bidets and washing. Genius, except they used their hands to wipe off the dingleberries. Unfortunately, hand wiping is still used in a few places to this day, which makes you second-guess every handshake in human history, and why Purell is basically humanity's greatest invention, not sponsored. By the 6th century AD, China, once again, was ahead of the game. They were making sheets of paper specifically for hygiene, usually thick, coarse stuff that wasn't suitable for writing. Think of it as the factory rejects of fine calligraphy paper, repurposed for a much less glamorous job. By the 14th century, the imperial family was using toilet paper in bulk. We're talking rolls of paper 2 feet wide, perfumed, and custom-made for royalty. Yes, royal bottoms got the good stuff. The rest of the world, though, not so lucky. In Elizabethan England, people were still using cloth rags or wool. Sailors on ships used ropes that dangled in the ocean, dragged up to do the job, then rinsed off. That's where the phrase, a rough rope, really earns its name. Can you imagine that rope burn? Bruh. Fast forward to colonial America. Toilet paper wasn't a thing yet. Farmers and townsfolk turned to corn cobs. Yes, actual cobs. And later, old newspapers, catalogs, and almanacs. Sears didn't just sell products. They sold toilet wipes. Accidentally. And if you think that sounds uncomfortable, let me remind you, corn cobs. Enough said. Finally, in the mid-1800s, things started to look up. In 1857, Joseph Gayety introduced the first packaged toilet paper in the United States. His product was sold in flat sheets, infused with aloe, and marketed as a medical product to prevent hemorrhoids. He was so proud of his work, he stamped his name on every sheet. Talk about having your name dragged through the mud. But believe it or not, at the time, people were shy about buying something so personal. So a lot of folks stuck with catalogs or newspapers. Then came the quiet breakthrough. In 1871, Seth Wheeler patented perforated toilet paper. A year later, in 1872, he patented the roll itself. Together, those two ideas created the tear-off, roll-based design we still use today. By the late 1870s, the Scott Paper Company stepped in and did what independent inventors rarely can: scale it. They mass-produced Wheeler's roll, selling it quietly to hotels and businesses at first. And by the time indoor plumbing became common, the Scott Company had normalized something people were still embarrassed to buy. As the 20th century rolled in, pun intended, the competition became all about softness. Companies like Charmin, Northern, and Quilted went head-to-head, convincing consumers their paper was the most delicate, the most cloud-like, the most puppy-approved. Marketing went wild. Babies, clouds, cartoon bears. Anything to make the people think, "Ah, how cute," and not, "I wonder if that's itchy." By the 1950s, toilet paper was marketed as a symbol of comfort, modernity, and luxury. Two-ply, scented, extra soft, embossed, it became less about function, more about fluff. Meanwhile, our Roman ancestors are looking up from history saying, "You guys had to advertise softness? We had one sponge. One." And this brings us to today, the good old 21st century. Toilet paper is now a massive global industry, worth tens of billions of dollars. The average American alone goes through about 140 rolls a year. That's like chopping down a small forest so we don't have to use leaves. Why do I suddenly hear an angry Swedish girl yelling,
"How dare you!"
Anyways, environmental concerns have sparked new options: recycled toilet paper, bamboo rolls, even reusable cloths, aka family cloths. Basically, little squares of cloth from old t-shirts that people keep in baskets by the toilet to use, wash, and repeat. And then there's the bidet renaissance, probably our best solution against cutting down too many trees. The bidet was first invented in the 17th century France. Originally, a little basin you'd straddle like a horse to wash yourself after doing your business. Fun fact, bidet literally means pony in French. Today, high-tech bidets shoot warm jets of water, play music, and even blow-dry your cheeks. Of course, first-time users might not find it so refined. Because let's be honest, the first blast of a bidet feels less like elegance and more like someone sneak-attacked your bunghole with a super soaker. It's either a life-changing spa treatment or the most confusing drive-by of your life. So, next time you reach for that roll, take a second to appreciate. You're holding centuries of human problem-solving, from seashells, spatulas, and the communal sponge of doom, to scented, double-ply clouds on a roll. Now that's progress worth sitting down for. Thanks for watching Guess What? If this episode didn't stink, hit subscribe. We've got plenty more awesome history coming your way. Until then, stay curious and stay stocked up.